In Canada today, the cost of living is more than a headline. It is the national conversation. It is the thing your uncle brings up at the barbecue, the thing your coworker mutters about in the elevator, the thing you calculate silently in the checkout line at Loblaws. But here's what nobody says out loud. That phrase means something completely different depending on which rung of the ladder you happen to be standing on. So today, we are looking at what life actually looks like at 5 distinct income levels in 2026. Not the averages, not the talking points. The reality. Level 1, the survival tier, $30,000 to $45,000. This is minimum wage. This is entry-level service work. This is the tier where the math simply does not close. The average asking rent in this country is now roughly $2,029 a month. On $38,000 a year, that single number consumes almost everything you take home. So you do what hundreds of thousands of Canadians do. You find a basement suite with a ceiling you can touch, or you take a room in a house with 3 other adults you met on the internet. And then comes the daily battle. Rent versus groceries. Not as a metaphor, as an actual decision you make in the aisle, putting the chicken back and picking up the pasta, because the rent is not negotiable and dinner is. There is a specific psychological weight here that the data never captures. It is not poverty in the dramatic sense. You have a job, you have a phone, you look fine, but you are one car breakdown away from total insolvency. One transmission, one emergency dental bill. That is the entire buffer between you and a credit card spiral you may not climb out of for a decade. You are not living paycheck to paycheck. You are living paycheck to catastrophe. Level 2, the squeeze tier, $65,000 to $85,000. Welcome to the median Canadian worker, and welcome to the most invisible bracket in the entire country. On paper, you have made it. $75,000 is a good salary, your parents are proud, your resume looks respectable, then reality arrives. The CRA takes its share, the province takes its share. CPP and EI come off the top before you ever see a dollar. And what lands in your account is a number that would have felt generous in 2019 and feels almost insulting now. And then there is the renewal. This is the story of 2026. Roughly 60% of all Canadian mortgages are rolling over across 2025 and 2026. Most of them coming off pandemic-era rates near 1.5%. The best 5-year fixed rate available right now sits around 4.04%, and the average borrower renewing is watching their payment climb by about $622 a month. That is 24% overnight for nothing new. This is where you meet the financed illusion. The shiny new SUV in the driveway, financed over 84 months. The patio furniture on a payment plan. From the street, it looks like success. In the checking account, there is $50 and 4 days until Friday. Level 3, the comfortable tier, $130,000 to $170,000. Now you are an individual top 10% earner in Canada. And here is where geography stops being a detail and becomes the entire story. In the prairies, this is a genuinely good life. A detached house in Edmonton averages around $415,000. In Regina, $332,000. On $150,000, you own that home outright on a normal amortization. You max your TFSA at $7,000 a year without flinching. You fund the RRSP, and you take one big vacation. Portugal, Japan, somewhere with a real flight time. Now take that exact same income and drop it into the GTA or the Lower Mainland. The average Toronto home is just over $1 million. In Greater Vancouver, the average is closer to $1,250,000. And a detached house there still runs nearly $2 million. Suddenly, $150,000 does not buy a life. It buys a townhouse 40 minutes from where you work and a mortgage that eats half your take-home pay. Same salary, same effort, same title. One version of you is comfortable, the other version is just getting by. And that is not a personal failing. That is a postal code. Level 4, the elite professional tier. $250,000 to $350,000. Congratulations, you have arrived. Now meet the success tax. In Ontario, once your taxable income crosses roughly $258,000, every additional dollar you earn is taxed at 53.53%. Quebec sits just behind at 53.31%. Take a bonus of $100,000, and you keep $46,000 of it. Work the extra weekend, and the government is your silent partner on the larger half. Life here genuinely looks different. premium travel, private school tuition, renovations that are not repairs. The wine gets better and the questions get quieter. But there is a trap hiding inside this tier, and it has a name, the HELOC, because the lifestyle at $300,000 is calibrated to what $300,000 sounds like, not to what it actually pays after the CRA. So the gap gets bridged with home equity. The kitchen, the boat, the cottage down payment, all borrowed against a house that is now, quietly, financing a performance. High income, high status, negative net worth momentum. Level 5. The total freedom tier. $600,000 and above. Here, something fundamental changes. Money stops being a friction. You do not check the balance before the restaurant. You do not calculate whether the flight is worth it. The hydro bill arrives and it is simply paid, an event with no emotional content whatsoever. Discretionary spending is not a decision, it is a default. But the real shift is not the spending, it is the source. At this tier, the income stops coming exclusively from your calendar. Primary real estate, private portfolios, equity positions, a business that runs when you are asleep, the transition from trading time to owning assets. And that is the actual dividing line in this country, not the size of the paycheck. Whether the money is still tied to your hours. Here is the number that explains everything. $80,000 in Edmonton buys a life that requires roughly $160,000 in Vancouver. Same groceries, same car, same haircut. Double the salary, because housing is not a line item in Canada. Housing is the budget. Alberta has no provincial sales tax and a top combined rate near 48%. Ontario charges 13% HST and tops out at 53.53%. And with the consumer carbon charge now gone entirely since April of 2025, the heating bill you complain about in January is no longer a national policy story. It is just a bill, and it depends entirely on where you happen to sleep. Here is the cruelest part. Ask anyone on any rung, and they will tell you the next one solves it. 40,000 looks at 80, 80 looks at 150. 150 looks at 300, and almost nobody, at any level, ever reports arriving. So here is the paradox. We spent this whole video talking about income, but every single tier taught the same lesson. The person at $80,000 in Saskatoon with a paid-off car can be building more real wealth than the person at $300,000 in Toronto with a HELOC and a leased Range Rover. True wealth in this country was never the number on your T4. It is the gap. The distance you create between what you earn and what a very expensive, very loud society insists you are supposed to spend. Because Canada will happily sell you a lifestyle at every single one of these levels. The only question that has ever mattered is whether you were willing to buy it. If you learned something from this video, make sure to like and hit subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.